metal scrap, one of the subject matter of big dispute in trade industry for this particular sector. Why? Lot of dispute pertaining to ITC, input tax credit, and disputed on multiple counts. So what is being recommended? Let me discuss this component and then I will give my observation to you. RCM is going to be introduced. RCM means what? I'm your supplier and you all are my buyer. You need to pay GST and a reverse charge. For what? When I'm not registered in GST, I'm unregistered, and you're procuring metal scrap from me. So supply of metal scrap by unregistered supplier to registered recipient. Registered recipient will pay GST under reverse charge method. So this is going to be notified under section 9, subsection 4 of CGST Act. This is what they're saying. But further what they are saying in recommendation, it is worth reading. They are saying supply of metal scrap by unregistered person, means unregistered supplier, to a registered person, which you are. You are buyer, you are registered. Provided that supplier shall take the registration. Please read this line carefully. Provided that supplier shall take registration as and when it crosses threshold limit. What is threshold limit? 20 lakh rupees, aggregate turnover. 40 lakh rupees when you are exclusively into intrastate supply of goods. That is what the aggregate turnover limit. If I cross this limit, by default, I need to take registration. Supplier need to take registration by default. He can't supply as an unregistered supplier. But still, they are making it clear that only this provision RCM applicable when being a registered recipient, you are procuring metal scrap from unregistered supplier. Now, my question is, this unregistered supplier is below the threshold amount, aggregate turnover. You are paying RCM under reverse charge, understandable. But how, being a recipient, you will come to know that this supplier has crossed the threshold limit and he has to take a registration? I hope you are getting my point, right? Do we have any window to cross-check? Because this supplier may be supplying to n numbers of recipients. So they are saying this RCM is applicable only when this supplier is unregistered because he is below the threshold limit. What happened? He continued to be unregistered even his turnover crosses that threshold limit. What is the mechanism? It is silent. So I'm just giving pointers which still need clarification. So this is the first point. And second, they're bringing the concept of TDS, tax deducted at source. And that too at the rate of 2% on supply of metal scrap by registered person in B2B supply. In simplistic manner, I'm registered supplier of metal scrap, supplying to registered recipient. Registered recipient, while making payment to the registered supplier, will deduct TDS at the rate of 2%. Why it is being done? To, to control and check fake ITC, fake input tax credit. Some pointers, and I'm just giving these pointers for food for thought. In this particular industry, what is the problem, That being recipient, you're having invoice. You have received the metal scrap. There's the eBay bill. There is LR copy. Goods receipts are being evidenced through pictures and everything. Everything is available. It is coming in your 2A, 2B. Supplier is also filing 1 and 3B. Everything is there. Being recipient, you're complying with everything. But what is the dispute in the trade age today? The credit to the recipient is being denied on the pretext either supplier is not existing, first. Second, supplier has taken credit from his preceding supplier, and preceding supplier has not paid the GST liability, and that credit is flowing in a supply chain. Even this 2% TDS, which is being deducted, which as per my observation, what happened? This TDS which is getting deducted, of course, it is going to be credited in your e-cash ledger. But for timing, there would be accumulation, working capital block. It could have been reduced. Second, even if TDS deducted, how are you going to help me out in this particular trade? When dispute is there, supplier is non-existent, but otherwise complying all the provision. Let's say TDS deducted, and after 2 years, 3 years, you come back, which was done in this particular industry. 2017 GST, July 1, got started. And today dispute comes, supplier has raised everything, filed 1 and 3B, all the documentation in place with the recipient. Just on pretext supplier is not existent, credit is being denied. How this buyer at this point of time going to prove this supplier was existing during that intervening time period? So this point of non-existent, even though TDS, let's assume TDS got deducted in the past, his existence, how to? So those are a work in progress. It is done in a progressive manner, but for the past period, still dispute lies. And if preceding supplier has not paid the liability, and that is flowing in a supply chain to the immediate supplier, and immediate supplier is giving all the documentation, and you are genuine and bona fide buyer, you can't check anything beyond immediate supplier. GSTN portal is not giving any window. How this is going to be resolved? So we are looking for solution of those litigation. But nevertheless, this is one of the recommendation for metal scrap industry.